Howdy tribe. So as promised, I wanted to do a quick and dirty tutorial on these Parasquid Flamethrowers. As you well know from some of our updates and the social media posts that we've been doing of late, they finally came in. We're really excited about how they turned out, and I've been waiting to do one of these for a long time. I just haven't had a finished product in hand to actually share with you. So now that it's all finally come together, really excited to finally get one out and actually show you how it all works. I know I've talked about these pretty extensively in the past, so I'm not going to go into the whole history of making the Parasquids or anything like that. As you well know, it was a long drawn out process, and it's been a lot of R&D, but it's ultimately made for a much better product here in the end. So diving right in, we've already actually started shipping these guys out. So many of you all may have already received your shipping notification. When you actually get your package, depending on if you're a stateside backer or an international backer, it will either be obviously in a box preps with an axis, or here, if it's in the States, it'll just be in a small envelope, a small, I think, well, some of them are orange, some of them might be a different color, but it's a 4x6 envelope, so very, very small. As you guys know, we're not trying to create any more waste than absolutely necessary, so these envelopes that they will be coming in are also fully compostable. Keep that in mind. All right, once you open it up, of course, you'll have your Bone Daddy Blade Works canvas pouch here. These are nice, just a little extra add-on there. And of course, the real goods, the Parasquid Flamethrower and Fire Starter here. So these will be coming in a number of different colors. Most of them are in kind of our traditional Bone Daddy colors here, but we have some wild ones as well. So they're going to be distributed at random. You may end up with a bright color one, crazy color, something like that, or it might look more like this one. Either way, they are all sexy. All right, first thing you should know about these guys, as I've told you before, obviously they have a fire steel ferro rod that's nested into the braided fob back here. This is 9 foot of paracord right here. It can be kind of hard to see when you first get these because they are going to be braided quite tightly. I did these by hand and I didn't want them to fall out, so I have them very recessed in there. So if you want to come in close, I actually want you to take a look closely at the knot here. You see that weave there at the top? Over, under, over, under, over, under. The way that knot has been finished right there. Well, the top of the fire steel ferro rod is actually woven into the Parasquid itself. So when you get it, if your rod is really tightly in there, you may have to loosen it up a bit. To do that, you simply move around that top knot. You see how I'm just little bit by little bit pulling out each one of those strands, and doing so loosens it. You see how it's starting to create this like star pattern as I unweave it there? So you just go all the way around like that, and that loosens it up. Of course, doing the exact same thing in reverse tightens it back up, of course. So now you can see the head of that fire steel ferro rod is revealed right there. And to get it out, you just have to start pulling it out, twisting it out. And this one happened to have the 2 corresponding red strands. It will always be 2 corresponding colors. So whether it would be the yellow strand, the black strand, or the red strand, it doesn't really matter. It will always be the same color going through. And when you put it back inside, it's important to remember that as well, so that it nests in nicely and cleanly. I'm sorry I'm sweating here. It's very, very humid. All right. Fire steel ferro rod. Pretty standard right there. Not a huge amount of length, but if you've ever used a fire steel rod before, you know that they are notorious for making the best sparks of really kind of any ferro rod maker out there. These guys, they really have their exact mix on point, and that's of course a closely guarded trade secret, which they would never share with us. But that being said, we are happy to be partnering up with them so that we can bring you these fire steel rods with the Parasquid here. So if you've ever used a ferro rod, you know it's pretty standard. I mean, the goal is to strike it across a sharp edge. Now, it was a lot harder getting the sharp edge on these guys than we ever thought it was going to be. Again, I'm not going to really get into the details of why that was so complicated. Needless to say, it took us a lot to really hone in our striker specifically so that this whole system worked. Now, when you first take out the ferro rod, you may notice it's quite dark. And there will be a buildup, like an oxidization layer on the surface of these ferro rods when you first get them. So sometimes your first strikes often you won't necessarily get sparks, and that's because you sometimes need to remove that layer before you really get into the material and it starts sparking well for you. Same will be true here because these are going to be raw rods. One thing that I should note here is they are designed, as I've already discussed before, and you've probably seen in the Kickstarter video, they're designed to strike by inserting the rod through the back of the skull, like this, and ever so slightly. You just have to kind of turn the skull slightly. If you get in close, you can kind of see the motion. It doesn't take much, but doing this brings both striking edges in contact with either side of the rod. And so when you strike, you're not actually just using the length of one side of the rod, you're getting the length from the other side of the rod, thus almost doubling the striking length of this ferro rod. Something else also important to note is I find, I'm left-handed, I know a lot of our users are going to be right-handed. I find when I insert this, it will nest in one corner just a little bit better for me than another. However, you can insert the rod either direction. It's designed to be able to create sparks from either the front or the back. So you find what works for you. It'll create sparks one way or another. So let's go ahead and just start demonstrating here. Part of the advantage of selling these with the Parasquid attached is it actually gives you an extended handle that makes it a lot easier to hold on to these strikers, because as you can see here, the strikers are quite small themselves. They're about the size of, you know, what is that, like my thumb, the tip of my thumb there or something. So they're really not big, and they're designed to work with a 1/4 inch ferro rod. You might be able to fit a little bit larger rod in there, but the reality is it's really going to work best with this size rod. Okay, so I don't have any ignition materials here right now. I'm going to go get kindling and we're going to cut away. I'm going to get that set up here for you, you know, and we'll cut back to that. But just for the time being, I want to show you the basic premise. Once you've taken your ferro rod out, it's of course pretty simple. So I'm just removing material now, and you already saw there's some sparks that first time. There you go. And you don't really have to turn it too hard to engage those sharpened edges. The idea is that you can kind of plant your one hand here, and if you have some material that you're wanting to ignite, whether it be cotton or whatever that material might be that you are actually going to be trying to light, you can kind of keep it there and keep your hand planted, and you can pull your rod back and out from the material, away from the material, and because of the way that the jaws are oriented, you're actually kind of shooting the sparks forward and out of the mouth. So, you guys have seen sparks before. It's really not that much work to get it to spark with this. I think the real test will be superhuman day like this, how well will it start fire? So I'm gonna go get my materials, I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna throw some sparks on some ignitable material here, and we're just gonna see how it works. The idea is, ultimately, this is my folks' last day in town. They're here visiting. Hey, Moses, get back up here. Sorry, he has to guard the beach for us. Come on, come over here. What are you doing? It's my folks' last day in town here. They've been in town for a visit since we recently just moved in, and so we figure we'll do a fire tonight. So my dad, if you look over here, he's already got some kindling chop for us. And hopefully this little teepee goes up in flames here in minutes. So we'll tune back in here in a second once I've got some tinder going here. Thanks, guys. All right, so it's been a few hours. As you can see, the sun's about to set back here. Really beautiful evening, perfect night for a fire. Now that we've got the Parasquid Flamethrower and bottle openers in hand, last thing to do is actually just to test them. So you can see, got my kindling here. Hopefully this lights up. Like I said earlier, it's actually really super humid here today, so this is actually gonna be a really nice test for us to see if these bad boys work well for us. All right, so if you wanna come in real close here, I'm actually gonna go ahead and start trying to light this bad boy up. Boom, just like that, guys. All right, so let's take this over to the fire. I made it really easy on myself. My dad already prepared this little teepee for us, had plenty of good kindling material to use, so this should light right up. Whew, okay, so as I mentioned, it's very, very humid out here today. So it took me a little bit longer to get this fire actually going the way I wanted it to be going. But you actually see, look at all the moisture cooking out of this wood right here on the end of this piece of wood. So very wet wood. Still managed to get it going here finally though. So going to enjoy this. You guys have a fantastic Saturday night. Stay safe. You guys have a fantastic Saturday night. Stay safe out there. Some hard wood.